Hello, it's Cassie here. Today I wanted to share with you a really cool technique that I learned using alcohol inks. And so first I just wanted to show you a card that I made a long time ago that kind of got me started on part of the technique, and then it has evolved from there. So first, if you can see, this is glossy cardstock. You can see the shine, and I used the Tim Holtz pouncer with the felt on it and inked it with the alcohol ink and just sort of pounced and swirled as I went, and it made this really cool kind of like stormy, rainy kind of background. And I had just gotten this, I think this is Harmony Girl from Unity. Not positive, but I'm pretty sure. This is the first stamp I ever got from Unity Stamp Company, and I fell in love with it, and so I thought, wow, how cool would that be to use that? So I embossed her and foiled it using the Heidi Swap mink foil, holographic foil. You can see the different colors there. So anyway, that's kind of how this started, with the swirl and stomp kind of technique. And then I learned about something else that took it to a whole new level. So then I learned about this great technique to use alcohol ink, alcohol blending solution, and stencils, and a particular type of paper. And so this is, a background in a different color over through the stencil. This is just using alcohol blending through the stencil to get those lighter lines, and then stamping, and this is actually embossing with an embossing folder. Here, I did the technique I'm going to show you, and then I stamped on top of it. So I have a ton of samples. You can do it through stencil like I showed, or this I just kind of splotched the alcohol blending solution, and it kind of makes like watermarks, and then stamped over it. Here it is through stencil. It's just so awesome. And then you can do two-tone. You don't have to just do the alcohol blending solution. This I stamped like a silhouette tree. So anyway, there's tons of samples. And these I did in no time because, they're so easy. Oh, look, I love this one. It just is so fun. It's so fun. You can use your embossing folders, right? Can you see that? After you've done the background, and make really interesting, cool things. You can use these for journal pages, scrapbook pages. Look at this one. I did the flower thing. You could, go over that with black ink just on the raised part. Look at how much that would pop out. And then here's one I just played with and then embossed the background. So many choices, so many things to do. And you can use it everywhere. You can make cards with these. These are just great backgrounds. Recently, I made 2 videos using this technique, and one was a quick tip instructional video I did with this whale stamp set. This is another Unity stamp, and this technique that I'm going to show you is underneath, and then I stamped the whale and all the sentiment on vellum and stuck it down, and did some coloring behind it. It's called stencil coloring. I'm sorry, not what it's called. Anyway, so I made that card, and then I did a longer version video walking through step by step how to make this card. And this again has the vellum over it with the girl and the words, and underneath is this technique that I'm going to show you today. And but instead of it being a quick tip video moving quickly, I talked through it and walked you through each step. But isn't that pretty? Oh, I just love this. And so you can do cards with this background. You can do, like I said, journal pages, scrapbook pages, canvas for the wall. There's so many choices, and really once you get started, you're not going to want to stop because it is way too much fun. So the first thing you need to know is the paper. This is Office Depot professional photo paper, glossy, and it's for inkjet. Okay, so you want to screen print this, take a screenshot of this right now, run to your Office Depot, go to Amazon, wherever. This is the paper I'm using for everything I'm going to show you until we get to the part where we're comparing other papers. Okay, I've prepared a bunch of different types of paper and surfaces to practice on, to say, hey, how does this technique react or work or not work on different kinds of paper? Because I will tell you right now, if you think that you have Kodak or Canon or some other version, some other brand of 4x6 or any size really, photo paper for inkjet, they are not all created equal. And so we're going to go through that and talk about kind of why it works on some and not on others. Okay. So this is what you need: Office Depot professional photo paper, glossy, for an inkjet. And I just got 100 4x6. I got this at Office Max, and it was, I think, $17. You might be able to find a coupon. Probably is cheaper on Amazon. I just needed it that day, so 4x6 is what I bought. They also sell 8x10. So I've got a few pieces ready. You can even, if you're, when you start practicing and you just want to play around, which I'm going to do a few of the smaller, I just cut them in half, so now they're 3x4. Okay, so it's half the size. You get 200 sheets if you want, and you can just play on those, so you can sort of practice and get a feel for this technique. It's really easy to learn and super, super fun. So the next important thing to note, if you're paying attention, write this down, is you have two sides to this paper. Okay, generally when you run it through your printer to print an image, you're going to print on the glossy side, right? This is glossy. Can you see that? Okay, here's the gloss. The back is kind of a satin finish. It's flatter. It's not glossy. The front, this paper is made to absorb ink, take it under this glossy layer, and create your image, that whatever picture you're printing, and protect it. This glossy layer protects that image so it doesn't move. We don't want that, because we want to be able to have the ink sit on top of the paper so we can move it around, okay, and we can lift it and manipulate it. So we don't want to use the front glossy side. If you do, you will quickly learn that this technique will not work, and we're going to do it in a little while so you can see what actually happens and why it doesn't work. So when you're starting, you flip the paper, you use the back side of the paper, so it's soft, you know, it's smooth, it's not glossy. Okay, so I start with that. We are going to start with, I'm going to do my favorite colors first here. I have, so usually when I start doing this, so I've got my, I'm using a dirty one only because I just used it. So I usually pick at least 2 or 3 colors that I want to work with, and they can be, you know, monochromatic, or they can be different colors that complement each other. Whatever works for you, depends on the project you're working on. But so here are the 3 that I'm going to use for this first one. I'm just going to show you the basic technique, and then we'll get into some variations. So I'm using Pool. Can you see this? Let's make sure I'm... Okay, Mermaid and Stream. Okay, so usually if I'm going to go monochromatic or monotone, I'm picking 3 colors, you know, in the same family that are light, medium, and dark. Alright, so that's why I have Pool, Mermaid, and Stream. Okay, so you're going to start with the lightest color, and you're going to put a lot of that down. Okay, I'm going to put a lot of it down. Then you're going to go with your medium color, put a little less. Now this is just a general rule. You obviously do whatever you like. The darkest color, I just put a couple spots on, okay, because it is really overpowering and it can tend to take over. So you have it all inked up. Now, this is that circular motion I mentioned in the beginning. So you're just gonna pounce and spin, pounce and spin. You see? You see what's happening? Getting those nice little fun circles. Pounce and spin. Now it looks like I might have too much dark, but that's okay. That's okay. This first technique, I really just want to show you what's going on and how to do this. So pounce and spin. Okay, pretty cool. Looks nice. It's fun. It's interesting. You can also just pounce and you get little dots. Play with this, you know, make it your own. Find whatever looks cool to you and do that. You can swipe it across and get streaks, you know, you do whatever you want. I want to do this. So you've inked up your background as much as you want. Now I only have one stomper. I need to get another one. So you need a clean felt, okay? Put your clean felt on, and the very basics of doing this technique. You put, this is, I'm sorry, alcohol blending solution. Where are we? Here we go. Okay. Ranger. Is it just Ranger or Tim Holtz? Tim Holtz. Okay. Then you're going to take a stencil, any stencil you want. I've got a few here today that I'm using for different things. I've got this cool one. I have that. These are the three I picked out to use today. So for this first one, I'm going to use this. Kind of looks like scales or, I don't know, scallop sort of thing. And you're going to take your alcohol blending, you lay your stencil down on top of it, and you just pounce. You don't rub, you don't swipe, you pounce. And the reason for pouncing over any of those other things is that alcohol blending solution is, you know, is a liquid. It's the consistency of water, and if you're swiping, there's a chance that you could get under the stencil and it just won't give you the same effect. Okay, so you can see it's starting to lift this color. We don't want to move this. You can stick the stencil down if you want, like if you know, you can tape it down or whatever, but I don't bother. I'm putting a little more blending solution on because I want it to be even lighter. I want to show you this full technique. Okay, so you can go as far as you want with it. This is all about preference and what you're into. If you really wanted to get this white, just get a new felt, you know. This isn't going to go totally white because I have the blue on here, but this is good. This is good. This is going to look really cool. So when you're happy, you lift off the stencil and you see the magic. Woo! Isn't that awesome? Look at this. And now you have this awesome background that took, I don't know, 30 seconds to make, right? You can stamp on it, you can put vellum over it like I did with those cards. You can come back in with the same stencil or even another stencil, put a different color over top of it, so you've got two different colors working, like I showed you on, you know, a couple samples like this here, or like this one. This is this same exact, I just did this earlier today to practice, and I used these colors in the background, and then I took other warm colors over the top of it and just did two-tone instead of monochrome. I mean, the possibilities seriously are endless. So the important things to remember, we're using the Office Depot professional photo paper, and we're using the back side of it. If you do it on the front side, it's not going to work, and I will show you that in a little bit. Okay, so there is the technique. So cool, right? So cool. I'm super excited right now. Okay, so let's just do one more for fun. Let's do one more. We'll use different colors. Okay, now I'm gonna use some warm colors. So I've got sunshine yellow and sunset orange and terracotta. Okay, so we're gonna do this yellow orange kind of thing, and I'll pick a different stencil even. How about that? We'll use this fun. Okay, so the next sample we're gonna do is a warm one. So I've got my paper ready. Remember, I'm using the back side of it. Okay, and I've got a fresh felt here. So we're gonna start with the lightest color. which is the Sunshine Yellow. And put a good amount on here, a good base. Then we're going to go with the Sunset Orange. Do a little bit, and even less of the terracotta because it is really powerful. Okay, let's see what we get. I'm going to do the Pounce and Swirl because it's fun and I like it. Oh, maybe I want a little more dark. See? Now I have a lot of yellow and not a lot of orange. That's okay. I'm going to show you. I'm glad this happened because I can show you. So now you're done and you're like, okay, that's nice, but I think I want a little more punch. So I'm going to add a little bit more of the dark color, the terracotta. And I'm just going to go over it, right? So remember, so this alcohol ink will always react with itself, no matter when you reintroduce new ink. It could be a year later, and I'll show you that too. So there, I like this. It's a little bit darker, a little more visual interest. I'm even going to do some of those splotches because those are fun. Okay, very cool. All right, so now again, I'm just going to get a new felt, a clean felt, and we're going to do the blending solution to lift the color. And then next we'll replace the color. So we're going to lift it. I'm going to go this way. All right, and again, we're pouncing. Pouncing, not swiping, right? Because we don't want the blending solution to get underneath the stencil if we can help it. All right, this is so cool. I'm really excited for this one. It's gonna be really pretty. Okay, so let's see what we got. Looks pretty good. Lift the stencil and look at that. So cool. Somehow a little bit of blue got on there. But it looks really cool, I think. So actually, what I'm going to do, instead of starting with a new one, I'm going to stay with this one, and I'm going to put that stencil back on, okay? And we are going to replace the color now. Now, you don't have to lift the color to replace it, but you can, of course. And so that's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to get a fresh felt. And all of these used felt pieces, I save them. I'm going to use them for something someday. I am sure of that. So I'm going to just re-ink a felt here with the colors we used before, Pool, Mermaid, and Stream. Just gonna put a couple streams. So I've got it all ready to go. And again, we're going to pounce, okay? We're not going to swipe, especially for this new color. We're introducing another color. Oh, think about this. You could make it like have a patina look. You could, oh man, there's so many choices. So many possibilities with this. It's just so fun. So I think I want a little bit more color even. So we're going to just ink it all again. Start with the light color, a little bit of the medium, and maybe just one or two of the dark, okay? And I want more color, more. Yeah, this is so pretty. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. How about this? Should we see what we have now? Let's check it out. Boom. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's so pretty. And again, it's so fast, you know? Here's the opposite. So we started with this, and I did the same thing as this, except opposite, right? So I had the blue base, and I brought in the orange on top. Both ways. Super awesome. Look at that. And you can use these for anything. You could even die cut, right? Put your metal die, your Thinlit, whatever. You can die cut out of these and make, you know, you can make a cool butterfly or whatever. Just really awesome. Okay, so there it is, two-tone. So we've done that. So now I really would like to get to all the other surfaces, but one last thing I want to just show you. We'll start with this. This is dry, okay? And this was inked over 1.5 years ago. This is from my original set of samples. This alcohol ink that is on this paper is 1.5 years old, okay? And I just want to show you how the new ink will react with it, and a new color will take over no matter how old or new it is. Okay? Look at that. The blue is just like moving that other color out of the way. Get out of my way. I'm coming in. All right? I'm also going to put some alcohol blending solution on and show you after 1.5 years of being dry on here, put away in my stash, it lifts the color like you just made it. Right? Isn't that cool? So you can replace the color with anything whenever you want. You can lift the color with alcohol blending solution whenever you want. So cool. What it won't do, this is a little bit wet right now. This part right here is pretty dry. It does dry fast. Let's put some water on there. Let's lift it up, see if it's gonna smudge it, move it around. Nothing? Nope. It doesn't do anything. Okay? Water won't affect it. Other alcohol ink and alcohol blending solution will, no matter when you inked it. Now, if you wanted to protect this and have it stay the way it is forevermore, then you would need to, you know, get a fixative over it, or like the cards that I made, you could put, you know, put some other layer on top, acetate or vellum or whatever it is you want, and of course that will protect it. But just this raw surface, completely susceptible to any other alcohol, and it will change it. But still pretty cool, right? Okay, so now let's get to the other surfaces. So actually first, before we try new ones, oh, I think I already have it in here. So I do have some Kodak paper, just to show you that they're not all the same. And I do have the front and back of this Office Depot paper, so we'll do that again really quick. So let's start with the Kodak though, and we'll start with the back since we were working on the back of the other, and just to keep it even and fair, whatever. And I'm going to use one of my old felts here since they're still pretty new. We're going to go with with these colors here, the warm colors. Okay, just really quickly. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing, like, you know, cool designs or whatever. I just want to show you how this works. So we're going to do so it still does the swirl, right? You can still put that on here. Looks pretty cool. You can still see the swirls. It's nice, but you can tell already that it's soaking into the paper, and it's not as vibrant, you know, because it is soaking in. Okay, so we've got that swirl there. That's good. Now let's bring in some blending solution. I'm going to use this other new stencil I haven't used yet. Okay, I don't think it matters which way it goes. I've got blending solution here. I got freshly inked or juiced. Okay, and we're gonna stomp. Nothing is happening, but I'm gonna keep going. We'll see. Maybe there's a little bit. It kind of looks like there's a little bit happening. The more I stomp. One thing I noticed, I'm seeing the Kodak name, so there we go. It does work a little bit. Looks a lot different. I'm going to show you comparison. So it does kind of work a little bit, not as well. It's a lot flatter, and you can see the Kodak paper word and the stripes in the back of the. So that would be another reason for me to not use it. But this is what happens. Kodak glossy on the back. Okay, I'm going to do the same exact thing on the front. Same colors even. No, actually, let's do the cool colors. We'll just keep flipping back and forth. How about? So we're going to do the cool colors. We've got pool. You know, and if you're working in one session, I say go ahead and reuse your felts as much as you can. there's a certain point where they kind of get hard. But anyway, so here we go. We're going to swirl. Okay, already there's not a lot of color variation here. And the swirling, it's like, it's harder to do. I don't know how to explain it, but it's not blending as well. It looks pretty cool. I mean, I'm not saying this isn't something you wouldn't want to do, because maybe you're making something that this pattern and this, you know, this style would lend itself to. But for this particular technique, it's so far not working very well for me. Let's get some blending solution on here and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to use the same stencil, and let's see if we can lift any of this color. Okay, this definitely is not lifting anything. It's not coming off on my pad. It's not getting any lighter. So let's just see. Yeah, not at all. So definitely the front of this doesn't do that. The pattern is really cool, and I could see other uses for it, but as far as using in this way, it doesn't work. So here's front and back of Kodak Glossy. Screen print that, or I mean take a snapshot, whatever. Okay, moving on. This is the Office Depot Glossy. Now I'm not gonna, I made one for the back, but I'm not gonna do the back. Well, yeah, we will. We'll do the back real quick just so we can have the front and back comparison. Okay, so let's do the front in the cool colors. Be quick. Alright, we're going to do the swirl. Ooh, this is really hard to do. Oh, look at my swirls. They look horrible. Okay, just going to go this way. Yeah, working on the front of this is tough. And that was the same with the Kodak. I think because it's got that glossy coating, it just really not blending well. Okay, let's throw the blending solution on. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to keep using this other stencil. Okay, not looking good on this one either. So here's what happens on the front. Okay, and on the back, this is what we've been using, so we know what will happen here. I'll just quickly go through this one so we can have it for reference. We'll switch back here, get the blending solution in here. Okay, get this cool stencil and we can actually see what it does. Yay, it's lifting. Alright, enough. This is just for, there we go. So that's kind of interesting. It's kind of random looking. So front and back of that, there's the Office Depot set. Okay, next we're going to try this on Yupo. And if you're being careful, you're going to wash your hands. I smudged it, unfortunately, but we're just going to keep moving forward. So, switching back to the cool colors. Should probably get a new felt at some point. Okay, let's just try Yupo here. Ready to go? Alright. Yupo is nice and smooth. It should actually work on here because Yupo is a plastic paper. It's not actually made of paper. It's plastic made into sheets so you can use it. So there we go. And we're going to switch back to the blending solution. And get our stencil. Might want to switch stencils. No, that's okay. We'll just stick with this. This is just for testing purposes. So, alright. Looks like it's working. Actually, I want to take off a little bit more so you can really see how this one is working. Haven't really tested on Yupo. haven't tested on any of these other ones, so so there we go. So that's good. Let's see. So on Yupo, it does lighten it, and maybe we could have gone lighter, but it doesn't really give you quite the same contrast. But that's Yupo. Next we have watercolor. So to this point we've only worked on coated surfaces. Now we're going to work on non-coated surface, and I'm going to get new felt because these other ones are getting kind of yucky and old. Alright, we're going back to the warm colors, so we're going to start with a lot of yellow and a little bit of orange and even less terracotta. Okay, there we go, swirl. Oh, so cool. This is pretty cool. The color is cool. It doesn't go nearly as far. I've already got to re-ink. It's sucked up all my ink here. Now this is watercolor paper, so it's made to suck in that color, right? And soak in the ink. But you can see the contrast really well, right? So yeah, and my stomper is getting old and doesn't twist well anymore. So that's a whole different look. I think I'm just going to add just some of the dark and swirl that in and see how that goes. Interesting. So again, this is a totally new look here. Watercolor paper, totally different way to do this technique, right? It could still be really cool, but way different than, you know, than this. So let's get some blending solution on here and see what happens. I'm very curious now. I'm going to put a lot because this is watercolor paper. And I think I'm going to use a different stencil just because I want to see, yeah, and so, okay, so what we're seeing here is that green coming through. It's okay for our purposes here, but the reason is because I didn't clean the stencil, and I'm putting blending solution on here, right? So actually what I should do is start over, that looks really cool. What I'm going to do though is start over on the other side. Oh, I can't. That's okay. We're going to go down here. I'm going to start over. I'm going to blend some more orange and yellow. And then I'm going to use a whole fresh new stencil. I have one up here that I haven't even touched. So, because I want to see how it pulls away the color, not so much how it replaces the color. Although that's a good test still, I think. But I really want to see if it will pull away the color. That's what I'm very curious about. So I'm even going to get a fresh felt here so I don't have any other color on here. I'm going to juice it up really good, and then we are going to use, here, we'll use this one. It's the big one, but I'm just going to work down here on the bottom where there's no interference with the blue. So let's see what we can do here. So it does look like it's lifting a little bit. I suspect it's going to work kind of, but you're going to have to work it a lot harder than you do the photo paper and use a lot more blending solution. But it does look like it's lifting, so that's kind of cool. So let's see what we got. Oh yeah, so see, it's bleeding. See here, it kind of stays in the lines and behaves a little bit. It does bleed a little in that, you know, the part that was under the stencil gets a little darker and more veiny, and that's really cool. But you'll see here that it's sort of like has softer edges. So for comparing the two, really sharp, hard edges around the stencil, really soft, sort of just blended edge. The color doesn't go away. It just, it looks like a kind of bleached a little bit. I don't know. And it's, you know, I'm curious to see how this dries too. I'll post pictures on my blog of all the befores and afters. But anyway, here's watercolor. That's what it does. So very interesting. This could be really cool. depending on what you're doing and what colors you're using. But this is how it reacts, and that's what we're here for. Okay, next one is Neenah Solar White. So this is just white cardstock. Pretty good quality, that's why I chose it. A good brand. If you haven't used Neenah before, I would recommend it. It is great paper to use for card making or for coloring, things like that. So let's switch back to our light colors, or I'm sorry, cool colors. So I'm gonna do light and medium only and see. No, I better not. Sorry, I changed my mind. Okay, Neenah Solar White, here we go. Okay, it moves pretty easily. Again, it's not blending like the other one because it's soaking it in, right? It's not sitting on top. And that's one of the benefits, I mean, provided that's what you're looking for, of the photo papers, that it does sit on top. So you can really blend the colors and get a nice transition, you know. This just kind of takes whatever you give it and soaks it in. But again, could be cool, you know, that's what you're going for. Okay, let's get the blending solution on here. And this one already has blue on it, so I'll just use it. Okay. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna get any lift here. Just kind of work it and take your time. Be patient. It's not looking good. I'm gonna try just a little bit more blending solution just to see. Give it a good fair shake here. All right. I think that's about as good as we're gonna get. Okay. So let's compare this to the watercolor, because these are the first two real uncoated papers that we're using. So we've got the Neenah Solar White versus the watercolor. Now it did pull a little bit of the color. It at least gave you a pattern, right? Whereas like this Kodak Glossy, you can't tell that you did anything to this, right? So, but at least with this, it does give you a subtle pattern. Not as much as this, right? But all of these sort of give you different feel and different look. So it depends on what you're going for. I think this could work for certain things, certain backgrounds, you know, same with that. Again though, different than this. So, all right. So there's the Neenah Solar White. Pretty cool. Last one, glossy cardstock. Plain old glossy cardstock, okay? Whatever brand you buy, whatever it is. Tim Holtz, there's so many different ones. This is the glossy side of the glossy cardstock. The back is flat. So I would expect it to behave the same as the Neenah Solar White or any kind of white flat cardstock. So we're just going to do the front because of that. So I'm using the warm colors. I'm doing all three. I've got yellow, and then I've got some orange, and just a hint of this terracotta. And here we go. Last one. Okay, so it is blending a little better, like that, like our first one. But it's not showing me the swirls as well. I mean, it is a little bit, but not as well. Let's see if I can add some more dark and if it will react and blend with the other colors. No, it kind of sits on top. Okay. Still pretty cool. Looks kind of watercolory. Oh, that's really pretty actually. But behaving a little differently still. Okay. Last one. Blending solution. There we go. This is fun. This is fun. I like doing this. I hope you're enjoying watching this. I'm sorry if it's way too long, but I think it's important to try all these different surfaces and see what works and what doesn't. And you never know what effect you're going to get until you try it. So whenever I learn a new technique, I always try to play with it in a bunch of different ways to push the limits, see where it will go, see what I can do with it and what I can't. Okay, it does look like it's pulling a little bit off, which is very surprising to me. We're going to try a little bit more. Okay, let's see what we can get out of here. I mean, not much, but it does look like it's lightening up a little bit. All right, let's see what we got. Yeah, look at that. So, glossy cardstock. Okay, again, compared to this, not as an obvious contrast, but you know what? I bet you if I did it long enough, I could get something out of it. The edges are kind of soft, not as hard to find as this, but it, it kind of worked. Let's compare it to the Nina Solar White. I would say these are probably neck and neck, and maybe even with the watercolor. Although this one does give a little bit more definition than the Solar White or the watercolor. If you look, here's just the top of the watercolor. So you see as that's drying too, it's getting more definition. Pretty cool. But this does have a little bit harder lines than either of the other two. So there you go. So here is the result with the glossy cardstock. So you can see, really, I think still the best way to do this is to use the back of that Home Depot paper, or I'm sorry, Office Depot paper, if you want to get this kind of look and this kind of effect. But as we just learned, you can use some other surfaces to do something similar at least and get a slightly varied look. Please try it. Try even other paper, and this is so fun and it's so easy to do, and it is, you can just make really great stuff with it. So thank you so much for watching. Sorry if this was really long. I just really wanted to go through all of it. And thank you so much for giving me feedback, if you would. If you like it, if you don't like it, please, I'm open to any feedback that you have. I'm going to try to keep making videos and teaching you new techniques and comparing products. So I hope you have a wonderful day with whatever you're doing, and happy crafting. Bye.